In professional sports, do you feel like guys are coming back too early from injury?
I think sometimes they are. That's a big, as you guys know through Vic and maybe some others, that a big part of what I feel I may do differently is the follow-up to surgery and the return to play program, and looking for objective measures that say, hey, you're ready. I mean, people always ask me, they come back from a surgery in pro sports and even lesser than pro sports, and they go, oh, so at 6 months, I'll be fine. And I go, it doesn't really work that way. I mean, it's not just a time element. Time is one factor that contributes to the return to play program. But if you don't do your homework and you don't do these exercises and you can't show us that your strength, flexibility, conditioning is back, it may be a forever for return to sport. And unfortunately, I think there are others who would just say, oh, 6 months ACL, you're good to go. And I think that's a dangerous way to approach it. Time is one element and one factor that allows a successful recovery, but you can't underestimate the value of readiness in the form of performance, strength, flexibility, conditioning, and just a slow ramp up even when that's done. So when you're going back, for instance, in basketball, you go the 1-on-1, 2-on-2, 3-on-3, all the way up. And then when you go back to minutes, the body, it's not so much how much you tax the body, it's the rate of change that really hurts people. It's like from doing really little to doing a real lot. That's what gets people in trouble more than the absolute load.
Yeah, it's funny because I think when they try to give you a time period to come back, I think that's fool's gold. And I think it's actually ruining players, in my opinion. I think sometimes that there's this misconception that just because we are the highest athletes and we're the highest performers in the world, that we're not human. And an average human, you know what I'm saying, it would take them longer than 6 months to get back from an ACL or a torn ligament. You know what I'm saying? It would take them longer.
Absolutely.
And I sometimes think that they justify the time period and when we come back based off the fact that we are high level athletes. But even in then, we're still human. And when your body breaks down, I feel like you have to let that human side of you have to let it heal. You have to give it its time to heal. I think that's a big misconception from my own personal opinion. Also, it's tough. I've, as you guys both know, I've been through a lot. And it's, I think that the biggest thing I want to ask Doc, for you is a lot of times I feel like, from just being in this position, hearing other athletes reach out to me and stuff like that, athletes just need to know that this doesn't mean that there's something wrong with you. And I feel like there's a lot of times when they're, in a position where they might get hurt and then they need surgery, a lot of things around them will make it feel like it's them and make them feel like they're lesser than and make them feel like they didn't or that they did something wrong almost in a sense, especially, your body's fight or flight when it's in that, when something happens, it goes into defense mode, it starts protecting you. So there's also a mental aspect to it. But what would you say to an athlete most athletes, I feel like, who might feel like after they have surgery and they go through something, that they feel like that there's something wrong with them. And I feel like they should have a mentality of, nah, he made me stronger. I'm better off now than I was before. What recommendations or what things would you tell an athlete if they might be going through those hard mental breakdowns?
Yeah, first, it's very helpful to hear it from your perspective. I mean, you're at the highest level of athleticism in basketball, and to hear how you feel, it's sometimes, we get caught in a tunnel and don't appreciate it. First of all, everybody gets injured. I mean, at some point, there's very few that escape injury. Not everybody has surgery, but almost everybody that I see in high-level sports who performs at the level that you do and go postseason, there's always an injury. So first of all, there's nothing abnormal about that. And we love to prevent all injuries, but I don't think that's realistic. There's certain things that are unpredictable, like traumas, and people get tripped up and fall or get hurt, and they tear their ACL or they tear their shoulder or they tear a ligament, and it's inevitable. I think there are things that we can do to better prepare for that. And I think it's completely human, and it's, the human body is really good at healing itself if you give it a chance. Mm-hmm. And I think you bring up an important point, Vio, that we have to give the body a chance. And well, what does that mean? Well, there are many facets. One is rest and sleep, and one is nutrition, and one is a ramp up in training that's reasonable. And I think that's different for different people in different sports and in different injuries. But it's amazing. If you give the body a chance, it will often heal itself. Now, there are exceptions. When you tear a ligament or you tear a tendon, you got to put it back. There's no magic dust out there with an injection or a pill that's going to mechanically put things back. But absent that disconnect, the body can heal muscle tears. The body can heal, inflammation and other things. And so what I say is, we got to look at people as individuals. A lot of modern medicine likes to take shortcuts and treat everybody, uniformly. Like I don't want to use the food analogy like it's McDonald's, everything's the same, but it's very cookie cutter. And I think that's very dangerous. I think we're all very different. Although we do have a lot of similarities, we have to look at the individual athlete, and we have to assess their condition and what brought them to that injury possibly, and what's missing and correct it. So there's no one word answer other than there are big groups of things we need to look at, including nutrition, rest, socialization for mental things, and then strength and conditioning and rehab. And I think they all contribute to a successful recovery and longevity. So several factors.